Good morning and afternoon, everybody. I'd like to welcome you all to today's session, how to build a coaching culture in 2023. A little bit of a tongue twister for me there, Claire. My name is Max Smith. I'm with 501c Services. As many of you all already know, we are a full-service unemployment consulting firm. We have several programs, which include the 501c Agencies Trust and 501c Unemployment Assist. We also provide HR consultation services to nonprofits across the country through our HR services program. Dozens of you on the call today are already working with us, and nice to see you again. Real quick, before we get to Miss Claire here, I'm going to go through the housekeeping for her. Claire is highly interactive, very interactive. You are going to work this morning, so strap in. Utilizing the question area on your GoToWebinar browser. If you have questions for her, shoot those in there. She's going to ask for comments, shoot those in there. I've heard that those who participate highly might get prizes, but so it's in your best interests. For those of you who are here for your SHRM credit, welcome. You know the drill. At the end of the program, there will be a post-event poll. It will pop up as soon as we're done. It will also be in our follow-up email. You need to fill that out for me to prove to SHRM that you are here, and I will send you your credit most likely first thing tomorrow morning. For materials, Claire has provided us with a copy of her presentation. It's already in the handout section, so you can download that now. I will also email it to you later today. Along with a video copy of the program so you can share it amongst your friends and family members. Last but not least, Claire's going to be back in like 5 weeks. We were running a seminar in San Jose. We will live broadcast it to everybody here. You will see registration for that in the coming weeks. So look out for that. If you're in the San Jose area, come down, have breakfast with us and Claire. Before I hand it off to Claire, I want everybody to know you're in for a treat. Claire actually holds the record for the highest rated webinar program that 501 has ever done. So she's the GOAT, and no pressure, but I'll go ahead.
Thanks, Max.
Send it over to you. Let me see if I send it to you. I think I sent. You got it?
Show my screen. All right, we're good?
I'm going to disappear. Leave you alone.
All right, thanks, Mac. Welcome, everybody. I'm so glad you're here. And we are going to talk about how to build a coaching culture in 2023. It's such a powerful leadership skill that can be applied in so many different ways. And so that's where we're going to start today. And I'm going to give you some great tools. There's something else also in the chat that Mac didn't mention, and it's a workbook that has a bunch of bonus content in it. So one of the things that's in the workbook is a bunch of meeting agendas and things. I'll tell you all about it when we get there, but don't forget to download that PDF, okay? So as Mac mentioned, I love some interaction. I love to know who's here and what you want out of today. So come on over to the question box and put in your name, your organization, your role. Say hello to your friends here. It's always nice to see if we can have a little bit of interaction. I'd love to know even where you're located. So give me some of that. And then tell me what you want as a result of attending this webinar. Like what brought you here and how can I serve you today? That's really what I want to know. So get that coming over. Oh, good. I'm already seeing some in the question box. Thank you so much. Love that. Okay, keep it coming. Keep it coming. So today, while we are going to, I've got Kristen on the line with me, and she's going to be watching that question box as well as Mac, just to kind of listen to what you have to say about what you want out of the day. But of course, I planned a lot of content for you. So let me tell you if you're in the right place. I hope you are. But today is for you. If you have an important mission to fulfill, okay? If you feel that your mission is important, either personal mission or organizational mission, either one is fine. Today is for you, okay? Today is for you if you want to know that you've use the most effective means possible to achieve that mission. You really want to have confidence that you're doing the right thing, okay? Today's for you if you want to build a strong and positive workplace culture, right? And then experience all the benefits that come along with that, because there's a lot. And today's for you if you'd like to have less friction in every aspect of your organizational life. If you just want to just smooth out the friction a little bit, have a little bit more ease, okay? That's what we're here for. And if you want to enable others to do their best and be their best, okay? So those are all some good reasons. If you want to leave a positive emotional imprint on others, even just that, then today is for you. So I hope you find yourself in the right place and that helps you get kind of oriented around why you're here. That part is really, really important. I want you to get a lot out of today. I've tried to pack this, 90 minutes with as much information as possible, and of course, give you the PDF so that you can take that away with you. But, get oriented to what you really want out of this, and then you will get more of it. That's why I ask for interaction, because I know that when you're interacting, you're getting more from our time together. All right. So let's kind of just acknowledge some of the things that have happened and why the current workplace landscape has its challenges, because it does. And now you might not be experiencing all of these, but I want you to be thinking, as I'm bringing some ideas up on the screen, I want you to be thinking, which of these things feel true in my workplace? Because I'm going to ask you at the end to come on back over to the question box and to let me know, what is it that's really happening for you, okay? Are you experiencing this? A lot of people are experiencing some difficulty with teaming and feeling that sense of cohesive teaming, mostly because we've got this hybrid workplace thing going on. That's part of it, okay? So maybe you're experiencing some of that. Maybe you're experiencing some diffused focus, you have so much to do and you might have a lack of clarity about what's most important. Your goals might be lagging a little bit. You might not feel a sense of progress. These are just things that I hear from my clients day in and day out. People are feeling like they're working and working and working and doing so much, but it's not just adding up the way they want it to. Maybe that's happening for you. That's what I want to know. Actually, there's some issues lately that I've heard about people doing their jobs, but not stepping into that sense of ownership and accountability that the leaders are expecting. Okay, so people doing their jobs, but not owning their roles. Oops, what happened there? I apologize for that. Burnout. Let's do number 4. A lot of people are still reeling from the Great Resignation, meaning that a lot of people left the workplace in the last couple of years. Retirements, or just, there were layoffs in some sectors and people moved and all kinds of things happened. And so our teams got lean, right? And then the people who remain are trying to do all this work, and there's been just this huge surge in burnout. Maybe you're feeling some of that too. So burnout could be quiet quitting. That's another thing, which I'm not hearing as much about lately, thank goodness, but I am hearing, that people are just pulling back, right? So it's sort of around this, people are doing their jobs, but not owning their roles. That might be part of it. So those are 6 things that are really, I'm hearing about all the time from my clients. And then there might be other things. I'm really curious what's happening for you. So let me just go over to the question bar. And what I want to hear here is I want you to tell me the numbers. Which of these are happening for you? Are all of these coming up for you? Is number 3 or 5 or 1, most prominent? Let me know what's going on there. I want to know a little bit more about what challenges you're facing at the moment, okay? Ultimately, all of these challenges kind of add up, okay? All these challenges add up, and they add up to this feeling of disjointedness, disconnection. Like I'm working, but I'm not making progress. Like I know the people who are on my team but not very well, and I don't know how to work better together, etc. And when that happens, and when we feel disjointed and disconnected, we really can become disengaged. Okay, and that's not a place we want in our workplaces. We don't want our folks to feel disengaged. Ultimately, and you know this, but engagement really matters. It's one of these key drivers. So here's a quote from LinkedIn for Nonprofits, and they're saying that employee engagement in nonprofits is a key driver of performance and retention. We know this. This is not new news. But when employees are engaged in their work, they're more likely to be productive and satisfied, which in turn leads to higher quality work, greater loyalty to the organization, and lower turnover. So this addresses engagement is sort of the metric that we're looking at to see, are people there with us? Are they willing to expend that extra energy on their jobs? Are they all in? Are they using the best that they have to meet the challenges of the day? Right? That's what we want from our employees. Now, that might sound like a lot, but ultimately, if we are moving in that direction and we're thinking that the people in our workplace matter, and that's ultimately one of the most promising ways that we are successful as organizations is by attending to the needs of our people, the heart and minds of our people, then we're going to be much more successful in everything we do. So this is all good, but I want to also show you some of the stats. The stats are real. Gallup, as you know, I'm sure, studies engagement, and they do these meta-analysis studies every 2 to 4 years, where they just scour the globe for all of the research that's been done around engagement. And then they compare. And so their latest study was in 2020. Okay, so in 2020, they did their 10th annual, or their 10th meta-analysis. And it included 456 research studies across 276 organizations. Sorry, I have to read this part because I don't remember all the numbers. Across 276 organizations and 54 industries in 96 countries. And it included 2.7 million employees. So this is a very big study, very broad study. And then Gallup is just world class at this. They are able to compare and contrast so many different numbers and look at how measures of engagement, and they have 12 questions that they ask that have been validated for decades. So they're looking at those 12 measures of employee engagement, and then they're looking at the outcomes of the organization. Basically, they're showing that those who are best at employee engagement and worst at employee engagement have this glaring gap. So it says the top and the bottom quartile companies differ, right? And they differ by this much. There's an 81% improvement in absenteeism between the bottom quartile and the top quartile. 81% different in absenteeism. Imagine that, 81%. So, I mean, let's say you only got a fraction of that. Let's just say you had 25% or 40% less absenteeism. That would be nice, right? That represents a huge increase in your potential productivity. 58% difference in patient safety incidents. So I know not all of you are in arenas that you might think about patient safety, but they look specifically at patient safety because it's such an important metric. There's an 18% reduction in turnover for high turnover organizations. Like, so when turnover is generally high, there's still an 18% reduction, and there's a 43% reduction in turnover for those that have lower turnover. Again, it's amazing how what these numbers could really mean to operations. 28% change or difference in shrinkage, like less theft. 64% difference in safety incidents, 41% in quality. So the things in the parentheses are how these things are measured. So they're looking at defects, and they're saying there's a 41% drop in defects or improvement in quality. 10% different in customer loyalty and engagement, 18% difference in productivity, sales, and 23% in profitability. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'd like to be 23% more profitable. I think that would be nice. And I'd like to have 18% higher productivity for sure. Sales, like higher sales. So there's a lot of reasons. These stats are real, they're tested, they're proven over and over again through these meta studies. And so engagement really matters, and we shouldn't stop paying attention to it. We should always be looking at our engagement. So hopefully you are. But looking at your engagement isn't enough, okay? Managers are part of the engagement problem. The good news and the bad news, only 1 in 3 managers is engaged, and senior managers, unfortunately, are ill-equipped to work in the new hybrid environment. Now, this part, senior managers being ill-equipped to work in the new hybrid environment, I've seen that day in and day out and day in and day out since the pandemic hit. I mean, we all were ill-equipped, right, at first, but unfortunately, a lot of people adapted by going to this remote, learning the technology and getting on Zoom and GoToMeeting and everything else, but haven't made the final leap to figuring out how to create a truly engaged workplace in this hybrid environment. We're in this funny mix of people are mostly working from home. We haven't reteamed. We're not aligned on our outcomes. There's a lot of challenges inherent in a hybrid environment, and it's going to take specific kinds of skills for us to thrive in this new world. So feel like a lot of people, and maybe this doesn't apply to you, but a lot of people are at this tipping point of where okay, we've figured out how to manage. Now we have to figure out how to thrive, okay? So interestingly, it wouldn't take much to fix. Solving this sort of quiet quitting problem can be as simple as having quiet quitting, meaning engagement, can be as simple as having 1 meaningful conversation with each employee per week. And according to Gallup, 15 to 20 minutes of a quality conversation is sufficient. So we want our managers to know how to have that 15 to 20 minute conversation. It's really, really important. So this is from this is actually from LinkedIn, but it's referencing the Gallup information. So I want you to make that 15 to 20 minutes really matter. If that's what it's going to take to help our managers really make the shift and help leverage and get to that place of engagement that we're looking for, that's what we're looking for, okay? We want that 15 to 20 minutes to really matter. So effective coaching takes 15 to 20 minutes and can help you address all of your engagement concerns, The bottom line is this is my message today. Coaching is that skill. Coaching is that management skill that, there's a lot of ways to address engagement. You know that. But if you can teach your managers to coach, and if they're good at it, it fosters this engagement and it can address all kinds of other issues. So Mac gave me such a nice introduction and I really appreciate it. But I'm wondering, maybe some of you have this question in your mind, like, Claire, how can you be so sure? So I just wanted to lay this out, like, how can I be so sure? Let me just tell you a little bit about how I came to this work, okay? So my formal education is in organizational communication and leadership. That's where I've done my master's degree, and I've just been studying it forever. My master's degree was a while back, but I never stopped reading. I've been a business consultant and coach for over 25 years, and I have a really robust consulting practice with over 30 clients at any given time. I pay attention to those clients, I listen to them, I learn their businesses, and they're in all kinds of different industries, and I do nonprofit and for-profit and public sector and all kinds of things. So I'm always trying to keep attuned to the pulse of what's going on out in the workplace. I'm on the board of a nonprofit, and I lead many teams. Okay, so I know the nonprofit world. I've been invested in several nonprofits myself, just personally, and as a board member and as a contributor, as a volunteer for many, many years. And I've studied a lot of nonprofit leadership. I've experienced the stresses of organizational life right alongside all of you, right? I've experienced all the stuff that's been going on in terms of the impact of the pandemic and the teaming and all that stuff. And I've studied and practiced coaching as a specific leadership skill for decades. And I've experienced the power and magic of coaching firsthand. I've helped many organizations transform and move away from an annual performance appraisal methodology over to a fully integrated coaching system, so that they're walking away from their performance appraisal and instead they're moving toward this combination of setting goals and tracking on goals and doing it in a regular cadence, and then they're seeing the success of that. And it's very real and tangible. So I feel very confident about this. Now, of course, as I said, there's lots of ways. There's many, many ways to approach engagement. There's recognition, there's clarity of goals, there's knowing your people, there's lots of different things. But almost all of them are embedded in good quality coaching conversations. Almost everything about engagement can be embedded in a good quality coaching conversation. So I'm going to show you how that works. Okay, so today, what are we going to do with our time today? We're going to explore why coaching is the powerful practice that can make all the difference in your organization. We're going to understand the most important key competency that great coaches embody and how to enhance it in your own leadership starting now. You all have this competency. You already own it. You just need to put your attention on it and work toward it, and it'll be there for you, okay? We're going to explore the interdependence between goals and coaching, and we're going to learn how coaching unleashes accountability, ownership, and real progress. People want to feel a sense of progress. I'll say that probably several times today. And we're going to, finally, at the end, we're going to imagine that ripple effect of a workforce that's even just, let's just say 10% more capable, engaged, and invested in your meaningful mission. That is what we are looking for, okay? So we want you to imagine that ripple effect. In sum, that most important takeaway that I'm coming to you with today is that I want you to be inspired to enhance your coaching skills right now. I want you to start doing this. So I want to give you everything you need. And I want you to be inspired to coach your team toward higher levels of engagement and connection and clarity using some proven best practices, okay? So that's what we're going to do. If you will stay until the end and get really engaged and share some questions with me, I've got some prizes to give away. I'm going to give away 4 free enrollments in my online course called Do the Right Things, Prioritization and Planning. It's a fun little course. I don't know, I think there's about 12 videos in there and workbooks and everything else. It's about a $34.99 value. I would love to give away at least 4 of those. And I'm going to give away 1 free enrollment in my upcoming Coaching for Excellence course. This is a course I open once a year. It's an $897 value. I'm going to give one of those away as well at the end. Okay, that's live and online, and it starts at the end of March. So stay with me and get engaged, and then we'll be picking some folks from the question box at the end to give away those prizes. And you can ask questions anytime, by the way. Just put your questions in the question box, because we're going to pause a couple times and we're going to take a few questions. Okay, let's talk about why coaching. Why are we doing this? Great coaches make an impact. I want you to think of a great coach who made a positive impact on you. Okay, we've all had them. Maybe they're sports coaches, maybe they're teachers, maybe it's a current or a former manager of yours, maybe it's someone who was maybe a little bit like a mentor to you. Any of those things, coaching and mentoring are different, but whoever comes to mind for you, that's just great. Just stick with that. I want to ask you this, and I want you to get your hands on the keyboard so you can answer me in the chat. What did that person do and say that made them an effective coach? What did that person do and say? Because coaches show up in a certain way. They behave differently than the other people that you didn't think of when I asked you that question about think of a coach, right? So they do things differently. I want you to think about what those people who you consider coaches, what did they do and say? Let me see if I can. Okay, I see here, listen. Oh, okay, they let me know. Let's see, I can't see the whole question. Let's see. Oh, okay. Oh, I love that. They told me I was better than I knew. Yes. Okay. They listened. They let me know they believed in me and they expected big things. Exactly. Okay. They supported and encouraged me. Thank you. Let's see. What else do we have? They made sure I was seen and heard. Gosh, you guys, these are great. They modeled the behavior and were proof that their advice makes sense. Gosh, that's great. They encouraged me, made sure I didn't feel alone. Wow, this is fantastic. Oh, they individualized a plan that fit me instead of generalizing. Thank you. Love it. Okay, these are things that are possible when you know your people, when you understand them, when you take time to listen and talk. Okay, this is not rocket science, but this is what we need to reinforce in the workplace, because we tend to favor the tactical side of our roles, and we leave that kind of human side for, sort of second tier. We don't want to do that. We want to make sure that those things are together, are very, very together. Okay, let me ask you the last question. What was the impact of that coaching experience on you? What were you more able to do? What did you now believe about yourself? How did having that person in your life elevate you? What was the impact? I want to see that over in the question box. Let's see. Okay. Oh, wow. Lots of stuff going on over there. Okay, I love this. Let's see. I realized I had a voice and should be using it. Yes, I love that. A higher confidence. Okay, wonderful. Made me want to live up to the expectations. Built my confidence. Helped me to achieve things I didn't know I can do and gave me confidence. This is exactly it. I want every one of you to have that impact on others. Every one of you. That's why I said at the beginning, like, if you just want to make a positive emotional imprint and none of the other, like, profitability or, any of that makes sense to you, fine. Great coaches make a deep, meaningful impact on others. They help other people believe. They help form a path. They let the person know that they matter. Okay, and that is so, so, so important. So we all have been the recipient, I hope, of some great coaches along the way. I always wonder, and I get concerned when I ask that question and people say, well, I never had a great coach, or, I can't think of anyone. Then, I want everyone to have someone in their life like that builds them up and pulls them forward. And you, in your leadership roles, could be that for so many people. And you probably are that for so many people already. So here's what people really want. We talked earlier about some of the problems. We talked about the disjointedness. We talked about the lack of engagement. What people deeply want in their work is they want to make progress doing meaningful work with people they care about. Okay, they want to feel that sense of progress, and they want to know that the work matters, and they want to do it side by side with people who they care about and who care about them. That's what we really want at the end of the day. There's a lot of other things we want, but we will be seeking and looking for ways to make an impact, and this is how we measure it ultimately. Every coaching interaction helps us do many things. Strengthen belonging by creating connection and building understanding. So if you're gonna adopt coaching, or you're even considering adopting coaching as more of a formal practice in your workplace, know that this is a critical tool because it can help us strengthen that sense of belonging. Really, really important. It helps us reinforce the meaning of our work by aligning on purpose-driven goals. Really important. Helps us ensure equity by identifying the unique supports necessary to achieve our goals and preparing to address potential barriers. So it's about not treating everyone the same, but understanding what a person needs and helping them be successful, okay? So that's really important. It helps us foster innovation and cultivate that learning culture by consistently generating new ideas and providing feedback. That's built into good coaching conversations. And it helps us build the scaffolding that helps us feel that sense of meaningful progress. How do we do it? We articulate clear agreements about milestones and metrics, and then when we meet those, we celebrate. Okay, so these powerful and effective 15 to 20 minute conversations can have all of these amazing impacts. Okay, all right, so let's talk about what is coaching. What is coaching? Here's a definition of workplace coaching. It's a deliberate, ongoing helping process. It's intended to enable success, inspire change, and promote transformation. It involves listening, curiosity, setting goals, identifying the support and resources necessary to achieve those goals, and regular follow-up. Okay, so the thing that makes workplace coaching a little bit unique is that deliberate cadence that goes on behind the scenes. It's something that you do routinely. All right, it helps promote that transformation and change. It's directed. It's a directed type of conversation. It's totally supportive, but it also has this element of, it's not just simply like sitting down and having a good quality conversation with a friend. It's that you have, as the manager who's leading this coaching conversation, you're invested. You're invested in the person being successful and contributing fully to your shared outcomes. So that's what makes workplace coaching a little bit different. There's a very powerful model out there that I love. There's a lot of models and frameworks you can use for coaching, a lot. And so I wouldn't steer you away from any of them. Well, I would steer you away from ones that are too complicated because they don't need to be. But this one is really simple. I love that the acronym is GROW. You're helping people grow, and it makes perfect sense. And let me show you a little bit about GROW, because it's gonna highlight how we get so much out of using this model. So the GROW model, the G stands for the goal. So the first part of your conversation, or at least one step in your conversation when you're using the GROW model for coaching, is that you're going to talk about the goal, the destination, the vision. You're going to try to make it inspiring. You're going to attach to the meaning and the purpose of the work and of the goal. And you're going to really formulate, why are we here? What are we doing here together? So you're going to talk about that goal. It's really important. That's the G. Then you're going to also talk about reality. That's your R. Reality is what's happening now. It's all about, like, what's under the hood. Like, why are we not already at that goal? What are our potential barriers and obstacles and things like that? That's called the reality stage. After we get kind of that goal in the room and in the conversation, and we talk about the reality and the barriers, the potential barriers, the obstacles, all that, that creates this gap almost, the goal and the reality. And then you want to talk about the O, that's the options. What are our potential solutions to bridge the gap? And that's why I say that coaching is automatically a place that inspires innovation, because you're going to be leading your people through this process of, like, let's generate some options. How are we going to fix this? What's the right way, right? And then finally, the W is what's next, or the way forward, and that's the plan. And the plan should always be linked to the goal, right? It should always bring us back to how are we going to get there and what are we going to do next? And it should be very tangible so that people feel that there's something that they can do immediately, and then they can put that into practice and feel a sense of progress. So just so you know, that PDF that I gave you, it has this GROW model in there, and it has several pages of powerful coaching questions that you can use in lots of different scenarios. Okay, it's got questions to discover the goal. It's got questions to, kind of mine for the reality. It's got questions to help you get to options, and it's got questions to help you determine what's next or the way forward. So all that is in there. And then there's also a couple of pages of questions that are for specific kinds of coaching situations. So I really encourage you to go in there and read through that. It's a question-centered approach. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But there's a lot there. There's also some scenarios so you can even practice, and there's a practice sheet so that you can dig in a little bit and do that on your own. So I wanted to equip you with lots of stuff that you can do as a result of today. So beyond using a powerful framework, great coaches use many, many skills. Okay, so that is true. They use curious listening, they ask powerful questions, they look for insight as in the interactions. They're good at setting and achieving goals. They're good at providing that follow-up support, and they're good at recognition and appreciation. All of these skills are things that I'm sure you do. And when you bring them all together into your coaching model, they just take on this extra power, okay, this extra impact, and that's what we want. So I promised you that we were going to look at a key competencies, some of the key competencies of coaches. And while they use many skills, there's something that's really pivotal, really pivotal to successful coaching. So that's what we're going to talk about next. What do you think that key leadership competency is? Just given this picture, anyone have a guess? I'm gonna go over here to the question box and see if anyone can guess what the key competency is. Out of all those things, let's go back for just a second. Out of all of these skills, which do you think are most pivotal? Where do we start as coaches? Let's see if anybody's got the curious listening, curious. Excellent. You got it. That's exactly right. Curiosity, that's the key skill. Curiosity is something that we all have. We can all cultivate more of it, and it has some texture to it. So let me just tell you a little bit more about curiosity. Even though, like I said, you all have it, and we can all turn this thing on, and we can do a little bit more of it for sure. It has been proven, curiosity itself has been proven to lead to successful things at work. People who are good at curiosity make fewer decision-making errors. They make better decisions. Why? Because if you're truly curious, it combats stereotyping and confirmation bias. If you're really curious, you're looking all the time for different kinds of solutions. You're looking for different angles on things. You're looking for what hasn't been said or what people aren't talking about, okay? So it will combat stereotyping and confirmation bias, and it'll help us make better decisions. It's going to improve your team performance, because when you're curious and you're not reactive, it increases information sharing and it builds trust. Curiosity is key for building trust. I have a whole course on trust, and I'm telling you, it is rich and meaningful, and the seed of trust is us each individually showing up a little bit more curious. So it definitely has that. And finally, real curiosity reduces team conflict. It is the #1 skill I teach when we start talking about conflict. When you get into conflict, you've got to start by being curious. If you can be curious and ask good questions of the other people that are involved in the conflict, it's going to feel more like problem solving, and it's going to feel a lot less like conflict. So this is the key competency. When you're curious, it helps you demonstrate empathy, and that is so important for creating that safety that lets people get through conflict better. All right, many benefits, proven benefits. This was from an article done in 2018 by Harvard Business Review called "The Business Case for Curiosity." It's like there's some hard science behind this, right? So it's really important. But let me ask you, what is it that makes a good or curious listener? Like, listening is a skill that demonstrates our curiosity. So if you're a good listener, you're probably a curious listener. Come on over to the question box and let me know, what makes a good or curious listener? Okay, I see one asking questions. Thank you, Erica. Open-mindedness, great. Kaya, I hope I said your name right. Nanette says asking questions. Denise says being attentive. Love it. All right, doing more listening than talking. Yes, thanks, Will. Asking relevant questions, right? Questions that are on topic and questions that help a person think, right? And that really draw out the other person's expertise. Thank you, Jessica. Listening, active questions, full attention. Love it. You guys, these are great. Okay. Tell me more, Bethany. Thank you. Thank you, Bethany. That is what I'm looking for as well. Okay, motivational interview. Yes, if you know how to do motivational interviewing, that's another wonderful skill. Deeper questions, facial expression. Oh my, you guys know this. Excellent. Okay. So as I said, I knew you already knew this. These are skills that you already have. And it's truly a matter of simply telling ourselves, I need to turn this on now. You know, it's really a matter of forming good habits around just getting your brain to think, okay, be open, ask another question, staying in that place. So I'm gonna share with you a little bit about that in a minute. But you know, I do these listening exercises with people all the time. Just yesterday, I was teaching a class about that included some listening. That was a coaching class, a little mini coaching class, and we were talking about the impact of listening. And we did some exercises around listening, and people came back from the exercises in there, and I said, so how does it feel to be listened to? And everybody says, oh, it feels so great. I love it. You know, it was really nice that my, you know, my coach just really took this interest in me, et cetera. And then I asked, how does it feel to be the listener? And honestly, that's a great picture too. Everyone's like, oh my gosh, it feels wonderful to be, you know, present and to really care. Gosh, that feels good. And the truth is, like, we rush through our day so often, but if we brought that quality of curious listening to more of our interactions, we benefit. Like, it's good for the soul. It's good for the heart. It's good for the soul. It's good for the listener, and it's good for the person being listened to. But we're not always like this. I don't know why. Well, I do a little bit know why, but let's talk about why. What gets in the way? I'll tell you what gets in the way more than anything is I believe I will save time if I tell the other person what to do instead of showing up open and curious and really favoring that asking questions, okay? So we want to favor listening and asking questions over speaking and telling, okay? Asking more than telling. Okay, telling goes down, asking goes up. And again, why don't we? Well, because we have this core belief that it's going to save time if I just tell someone what to do instead of if I ask them what to do and what they think, etc. So that is only partially true because, while it might save time in this moment, what it doesn't do is it doesn't then engage the person in their own thinking and their own problem solving. And when I'm engaged in my own problem solving, I am learning, and I'm then able to add that understanding to the bank of everything else going on up here and then make better decisions in the future. So asking good questions and coaching is like the ultimate beginning of delegation. It helps people think for themselves, okay? So it might save you time in this exact minute, but it's not going to save time down the line. What also gets in the way? I want to be helpful. People say this to me. They go like, well, somebody asked me a question. I want to be helpful, so I tell them the answer. That makes sense. It makes perfect sense. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that over time, we end up having these relationships with people where we're telling them more instead of asking and coaching and bringing and drawing them out, okay? Some people say it's my job to have the answers. Like, that's why I'm the boss, or that's why I'm the leader, because I have the experience and I know. And there is something to that, but I want you to remember those coaches that saw you, and I want you to bring others forward. Even if you do know the answer, you always should be looking for opportunities to help somebody else understand the answer, okay? I have a more educated perspective, perhaps. And yes, but again, same answer as before. And have a more educated perspective, but you want other people to build that as well. What else, you guys? What else do you think gets in the way of this curious listening? Is there anything else that I haven't listed here yet? Let's see. What do you guys think? I'm gonna just pause here first. Okay, ego. Yes, Christina. Yes, it's sort of like I have a more educated perspective and it's my job to have all the answers, can be summed up with ego, right? Or just that thing, like we don't want to give up the power. Which doesn't sound like a great reason, but it's a motivator for all of us in some way and at some times. So we need to be very conscientious of it. Thank you, Christina. Okay, let's see. Christy says, other people, problems, and distractions, right? Other people, problems and distractions. Other people might be telling us. Okay, language barriers can come into play for sure. Oh, some people are just not teachable. Okay. Charmaine, I hope I said your name properly. I hear that. Some people are just not teachable. And I guess in this world, we would say, is the other person really coachable? That's a tough one. Sometimes people don't want to hear what you have to say, or they don't want to answer your questions, or they just roll their eyes and be like, can you just tell me the answer? And so sometimes that does happen, absolutely. Okay, these are great, you guys. Let's see, I know your idea won't work. Yes, right? It's like, well, you have an idea, but I already know it won't work, so I'm just going to tell you. Okay, so very important and always ever present, right? Okay, so these are just ways that we have to remind ourselves to have that humility, that patience, and to take that coaching role and to sit back and be like, look, I might think that I have a better way, or that your way won't work, etc. But my job isn't to have all the answers. My job is to help you develop your decision-making ability and your perspective. It's my job to help you develop your perspective and your confidence, and to guide you through these conversations so that you're having the discoveries of why this won't work. Okay, so there's this fine line in coaching around leading the witness. Like, what we don't want to do is ask a bunch of questions because we're trying to get the coachee to a specific answer. But sometimes we do. So we need to be conscientious of that. Sometimes that happens. So these are some of the things that get in the way for sure. One skill, if I could just give you one thing, I think you're starting to see now that using the GROW model and really being a good coach and developing that as your leadership style takes some practice. Okay, it takes some commitment, it takes some practice, it takes sometimes some guidance, sometimes some feedback to help you really step into that role. I mean, I know I've been fully, and not just believe in it, be able to do it. I've been practicing for years and years and years. I've been practicing, and I still struggle. I always struggle. So I want to invite you, think of this as a long-term kind of ability to develop. Okay, here's a key skills, and it's wait. Why am I talking? It's just asking yourself, what is the why? Is it to encourage a person to contribute, to clarify? Why am I talking? Is it to station and answers? Just knowing a little bit more and being attentive to your why. What is your motivation when you are sitting with someone and you're trying to talk them through it? And if your motivation is something like, well, this person clearly doesn't know the answer, or this will never work, or this person just isn't teachable, I have no judgment of that. I have those thoughts myself, but I just would ask you, as I ask myself, to pause and be like, maybe don't believe that right now. Think about a different way that's more empowering for the other person, okay? So why am I talking? And I just had to throw this in as well. Waste is, why am I still talking? Okay, same questions, but sometimes we go and then we're still talking. And I'm asking myself this question right now. So let me just tell you, the practice is, I want you to practice this. I want you to just do some simple things after you leave here today. Maybe for just today, I want you to make a bubble of attention around the speaker. When you're a listener, or when you're coaching someone, when you're having a conversation, just try to make this little bubble of attention around them. Don't get distracted. You gotta train your mind, okay? So make that bubble of attention. Watch and listen for the unsaid. That is one way of helping focus your mind on their message, instead of going to that place where you're thinking, what will I say next, right? You want to watch and listen for what's being said and what's unsaid. And then finally, just practice, practice, practice these words. Tell me more, tell me more, tell me more, tell me more. I love that. Every time I get stuck, I just go, say more about that, and I ask the person to go on a little bit longer. And that helps me reground myself, get present, and do it. Okay, so we've been at it here for quite a while. I've been talking a lot, and I just want to pause and see if we could just answer a couple of quick questions. Mac, what do we got going on here?
Oh my gosh, there's a lot in there.
Really?
If you have any questions right now, go ahead and send them over. I'll get started with a couple of that we've already identified. You talked a little bit about 15 minutes, Claire. Some folks are saying they already have one-on-ones. So how should a one-on-one be positioned to be actual coaching?
Okay, what a great question. Okay, so a lot of people are already saying, well, I talk to my people all the time. What's different about this coaching model than just having my one-on-ones, which seem to be working just fine? And I'll just say that one of the things that's different is that real coaching conversations are around goals usually. And we're going to talk about that next. But they're about how to align on shared goals and how to support a person in reaching those goals. Okay, so I would never discourage you from having as many one-on-ones and just curious conversations and just check-ins and all that. I think those are wonderful. But in a coaching organization, the added part is usually that there's some cycle around setting goals and then coaching people toward those goals, so that the work in general gets more of a sense of progress, and there's more kind of traction in how people are working together. So we're going to talk about that bit next, very specifically about why goals are important and how this looks, and there's more information for you in your PDF as well. But that's one of the things that we tease out as a little bit different. Not every conversation is a coaching conversation. We want you to keep having lots of different kinds of conversations. But if we add in this kind of goal-focused conversation, it helps us with all kinds of measures of engagement. Like, not only is the person seen and heard and understood, but they also have a lot of clarity about what's expected of them right now. And they can make progress toward that, and they can address barriers, and they can get more of the right work done with support. So they feel more confident, they feel more confident, and they feel like they're truly making a difference every day when they come to work. So that's that one. Maybe one more?
Yeah, we can do another. I'm going to use Christy's question, because there's a lot of questions that are kind of along these lines of you're coaching someone, but there's always pushback.
Oh.
It's always negative. They don't want to do what's suggested. They're just uncooperative. You want to tackle that one?
Yeah, that's a hard one. That's a really hard one, but it kind of comes back to that thing that I was reading in the question box earlier, like, this person isn't very teachable, they're not very coachable. And there's a lot of people that come to their work with that kind of resistance. And in fact, it's, in a sense, it's like one of the things that is on the rise. And that's disturbing to me. Let me just say that some people are not as coachable as others, for sure. But the place I always go to right there is trust. There's something in that relationship that needs to be worked with first, and then we can get to the goals. So coaching is not like flipping a switch. It's not like if you sit down and you haven't been coaching your people along the way, and suddenly you sit down and you go like, let's have a different kind of a conversation. You start asking all these questions. The first thing that's probably going to happen is the other person's going to get a little suspicious. They're going to be like, why are you asking me these questions? And what do you really want to know? And that kind of thing. So there's the history in the relationship and the dynamic of the relationship sometimes sets it up so that you're going to need to do this a little bit together before you get to that real coachable place. The most successful transitions I've seen in managers who don't traditionally ask questions to starting to ask questions is this. The manager literally comes and takes out this grow model that I've provided you with and sits down with the person and says, you know, I'd like to do better as a manager. I feel like I tell you what to do all the time, and I'm afraid that I'm not conveying my belief in you. And so I got a bunch of questions here, and I don't know how this is going to go, but let's read these questions together and see what we come up with. And honestly, that kind of transparency has yielded the very best results that I've seen so far, because it's a moment of the leader actually saying, look, I'm conscious of how I've been interacting with you. I want to learn and grow. I'm going to model the way in terms of doing things differently. I'm not an expert at this, but I'd like to start asking you better questions. And so maybe we can just kind of go through some of these together. And those interactions seem to just loosen things up a little bit and help get things moving. It's almost when the manager comes to the situation as like, well, I'm the expert and I've got the answers and stuff. And in the relationship, there's a history of that. It can be hard for a person to feel free to step in with their own solutions to problems. So I'm not going to lie, it can take some work. It can take some work. But that is one of the things that if you have that long-term view and you really commit to showing up with people differently, it can be really powerful over time, because it hits the trust and the goal parts of the relationship and the content parts of the conversation, both. So there's that. All right, keep your questions coming. Let's see, I'm just looking at the time, and I'm gonna go in a little deeper to goals and coaching and accountability, and then we'll do some more questions at the end, okay? So we've talked a lot about the relationship side of coaching. It's about being curious, about asking good questions, about showing up fully. We've talked about the engagement piece, right? And how getting people engaged is so powerful, and how this is a great tool for that. But now I want to talk a little bit about goals and why, why goal setting is so important and how we can use it. Let me remind you what I said earlier, right? People want to make progress, doing meaningful work with people they care about. And those are three important things. Stephen Covey says, I love this quote, if the ladder's not leaning against the right wall, every step we take just gets us to the wrong place faster. So goals are like the right wall, right? We have to have clear priorities in our organizations and in our work teams. And then people need to see themselves as contributing to those meaningful and proper priorities. Okay, so first and foremost, that's why I say that leaders should get clear on those priorities. That little mini course I'm going to give away at the end about do the right things, prioritization and planning is about that. It's about taking a good, strong look at what are the priorities and how are you communicating them and how are people receiving those. So getting clear on those priorities is really important. And then, of course, like I said, aligning goals around that so that people are feeling like they're doing the right work. There's almost nothing that's as disturbing for people as doing a bunch of work that adds up to nothing, right? So imagine the times in your own career when you've really dedicated yourself to something and you've worked so hard, and then the powers that be change their minds and they're like, yeah, we're not going to do that anymore. And then you go, okay, I just spent 6 months of my life working that stuff out, and now, like, flavor of the week comes along, and now I'm doing something different. So we don't want to do that to our folks. We want to make sure that we're acting in alignment with priorities. Beyond that, the science of goal setting is very clear. Goal setting actually, from a neuroscience perspective, it restructures your brain to make everything you do more effective, which is astounding to me, but true. Here's what happens. Our brain's on goals, right? Goal setting literally changes the connectivity in your brains thanks to neuroplasticity, which means that when we do something and we do something with energy and we do it frequently, we develop new neural pathways in our brain. So when you have a goal, and you're working toward that goal, you're developing those neural pathways so that your brain is optimized to achieve that goal. And that's one of the reasons it's so powerful. If we're emotionally attached to our goals, like if we're motivated and those goals are meaningful, then as obstacles come along, we evaluate them as less challenging. So we want meaningful work and we want to contribute. And people really don't get deterred from hard things as much as we think. Like, we can give people pretty challenging goals as long as we also talk through the motivation side, the why, the what is this about it that's really going to make a difference. And in many cases, the more ambitious the goal, the more motivating it is. And the reason is we have to get the front part of our brain and the back part of our brain both engaged, the amygdala and the frontal lobe. And so the connectivity in our brains gets stronger faster. We all know this. If you have an experience and there's an emotional component to it, you will remember that more. And so if you're a good coach and you can sit down with your person and you can talk about goals and the meaning of the goals and why they matter, and you can infuse that conversation with some kind of connectivity and emotion and create a plan, the person is going to leave that conversation with more motivation and more ability to make it happen. That said, not everything, not all goals are the same, and not everything deserves a goal. We don't want to overcomplicate our lives with goals everywhere we turn. We want to set specific goals with people around these things. Things maybe you want to improve. Maybe you want to improve efficiency in some regard or effectiveness in some regard, or you want to improve a process. Any of those things could deserve a goal. Like, so that you know what to do and when to do it, and you feel a sense of progress around it. You could set a goal around a new habit that you want to form. You can set goals around things you want to start doing or stop doing, or even around things you want to keep doing well. So let's say a person, is doing fabulous in their customer service or their safety or whatever. You can say, look, make sure that doesn't slip. Like, let's set a goal around continuing to keep our focus on that important thing. So I'm not an advocate of everything having a goal. I always tell people, please don't have more than 3 goals at any given time, because it waters down your focus and then you make less progress. This is why prioritization is such an important component, because I go into organizations every day that tell me that they have like 15 or 27 priorities. And it's like, that's not going to work. Your brain cannot handle all those different directions at once, and it just waters down your energy. So set goals carefully and it'll be better. Hopes and goals are different, just so you know. You want that kind of a goal statement that states specifically what you're going to do and how you're going to tell that you've been successful. A goal might be to take a class on meeting planning by the end of Q1, where a hope would just be something like, oh, I want to run a better meeting. So you might, we want to make sure that when we're coaching somebody, we can hear the difference between what's a hope and then we can help them turn it into a goal. So if I'm coaching somebody and they say, I really want to develop my ability to run better meetings, and I'm like, that's a great idea. Tell me more. Why do you want to do that? What good things will come out of that, et cetera, et cetera. Then I want to get them to really, to the end of the conversation, is we have a plan. It says, like, my goal then is to take a class on meeting planning, and I'm going to do that by the end of the first quarter. I'm going to take that first class and I'm going to identify where that is, et cetera. So then I know when I've achieved that thing, and then I can do the next piece and learn about whether, how to apply that to running a better meeting. Okay. Okay, so remember, grow. Goal is the first thing. Goal is the G. And so we want to just bring that back into the room, because we want to use those goals and then combine them with a regular cadence of conversation to help people make progress. Okay, so that's why we said at the beginning when we talked about workplace goals, it's a deliberate, ongoing, helpful conversation. So you might set a goal, but here's the problem with the old performance appraisals. People would set goals and they would never talk about them again until the end of the year, and that does not work. People have mostly forgotten their goals at that point. So you want to set the goal, and then you want to come back to it and support that goal regularly. It doesn't have to be every week, but you could say, look, let's check in on your goals. Let's have a coaching conversation about your goals. How's it coming along? What's getting in your way? What are your options for bridging the gap? And what are you going to do next? Okay, so you can just follow that grow model, but you want to do it in a regular cadence. So here's just one recommendation, but it involves the way a manager works with the team and does the coaching. Okay, so let's say in January, the team comes together and they develop an annual focus. Like, what are we going to do this year? And how is it going to break down? And then in January and February, team members write their goals. And that's essentially like, how am I going to contribute this year to that annual focus? What's my role in that? And that's what's called a cascading goal. Then after they write their goals, let's say March through June, you're having these coaching check-ins with people, and you're just sort of like checking in, how's your goal coming, etc. Mid-year, you probably want to bring the team back together and look at your shared results. That can be super motivating. Then you're going to go back to some coaching check-ins, and then at the end of the year, you're going to do an end of the year celebration, and you're going to bring everybody together, and you're going to talk about, what did we do this year? What did we accomplish? What didn't we accomplish? What did we learn? How can we apply what we learned to the next year? So in that PDF, you've got those meeting agendas I talked to you about are literally, they're just sketches, but they should give you some good ideas about how to run this January meeting, this July meeting, and this December meeting, okay, and some others. So those draft meeting agendas are in there. Please use those, modify them obviously for your needs, but that will give you some ideas. Okay, I hope. Okay, so what we want to do is really help employees define their win. So if you're setting annual goals at the organization level, each person wants to be able to contribute. So my manager would help, we would have these sort of big goals for our organization, that I want to bring that down to my level and say, what is my win? What's important for me now? What's important now? That's the win. And here's just some examples. Like, if at an organization level, we want to improve the customer experience, in my division or department, I want to improve it by 2%, and I've got some metric. I've got some measurement, as measured by what? How will I know that? Because we have a survey or something, right? Or I might say, I want to reduce waste. That's my passion. I would like people to consume less or do, have less trash. So I am going to contribute to our overall goal by reducing waste. Maybe I want to increase participation in one of our programs that we're offering, and I want to do that in my division. I want to do it by 10%, et cetera. Or my pet project is that I want to revise the employee onboarding process because I've been using it and it's not really working, or something like that. So you want those goals to be specific and individual for sure. All right. So then you want to implement things. You can do this on a weekly cadence. That may feel like way too much. Like, people are probably already saying, no more meetings. But sometimes bringing your team together for a very quick huddle at the beginning of the week, saying, what's hot this week? What are we collectively? And then maybe on Tuesdays or Thursdays, you might do some coaching check-ins with people. And then on Fridays, you do a very quick, again, team meeting, team huddle. How did we do this week? What are some of the updates? What are we celebrating? Of course, you don't have to do this every week. Even if you did it monthly, you'd probably be far ahead of most. But it's a cadence where it's keeping people's focus on what matters now, and that's important. Okay, so today we did a lot. We explored how coaching is the powerful practice that can make all the difference in your organization. We learned that curious listening, a skill, a competency you all have already, is the most important key competency that great coaches embody. And you can start doing that today, immediately, just sharpening up your skill there. And we explored the interdependence between goals and coaching. And we learned how coaching can really unleash accountability, ownership, and real progress, right? When a goal belongs to a person, they're going to be so much more accountable to that. And when you combine that cadence of meetings that we were just talking about, that's where you get just huge improvements in accountability and ownership because there's transparency in your team and everyone knows, like, oh, so-and-so didn't make their goal this week. Well, how can we help? You know, or what's happening here? How come this is not working? And so it doesn't come down to you as the manager all the time to be pointing out people's discrepancies or flaws. It's really a team orientation. And I don't mean that in a punitive sense. I just mean that teams work together to get stuff done. And so you want to have that team approach combined in there with coaching. I think that's really, really powerful. It doesn't have to be, but it's really powerful. So our last thing now is to imagine. I really want you to imagine what it would be like if your goals were clear and compelling and tangible. Just sharpen the focus on that. Like, probably many of you are goal oriented and you probably have goals and they're probably clear. Think about what it looks like when that ripples through the organization and goals at every level are more clear and compelling and tangible and they're aligned and they cascade. Really important. Okay, imagine what it would be like if your team was fully engaged, or even, like I said at the beginning, even just 10% more engaged, just showing up with a little bit more heart and a little bit more creativity and a little bit more commitment. That can make a world of difference for you. Imagine if ownership and accountability was truly being fostered at every level, so you could think about your role instead of thinking about what everybody else is working on. You're thinking about what your greatest contribution can be and how you can steer your organization, that kind of thing. And I want you to imagine, like, if people were making measurable progress, all that energy, if as even a monthly basis, you could literally pull a chart up in front of collectively on your team and you could say, look at all the things we accomplished. And all of that is directed right at you accomplishing your mission, okay? Energy, what would that be like for you? That's what I want to know. What would change for you as a leader if those things were true? Blow up the question box for me. Tell me what would change for you. I want to know. How do you see this playing out for you? How do you see this playing out for you? Have any ideas? I feel like part of what happens there is that you just are able to contribute at a whole different level yourself, and that your stress level goes down, your enjoyment of your own work goes up, your weekends suddenly become a little bit more spacious. That's what I'm hoping for. And though this is the long view, in a sense, like I said, coaching doesn't work instantaneously with people, with everybody the same. It's not really like that. For some people, they'll be able to pick it up and just put right into practice exactly what we talked about today and start feeling the difference instantly. For other people in teams where this is not, where this is a little bit foreign or where relationships are a little bit strained, it's going to take a little longer. But it's still about helping people make meaningful progress toward important goals, right? With people that they care about. Really, really important. Okay, so I'm seeing less stress. I feel more accomplished that I was making a difference. Yes, Julie, I love that. Less delays, more meaningful work, more satisfaction for leaders and staff, energy, more productive, happier, unity and connection. Oh, you guys, I love this. Being productive, this is lovely. Okay, time becomes efficient, more work completed, balance. I love that for you. That's what I want for all of you. I want those things for all of you. So just as we get ready, I want you to put some questions in the chat for me, but just remember that coaching helps us feel like a team, sharpen our goals and ensure understanding, build accountability and strengthen ownership, prioritize and protect against burnout, all these things. Feel the momentum of progress and what else? And what else for you? And now I want to know, what's your plan, right? What are you going to do as a result of today? Are you going to strengthen your curiosity or clarify your organizational goals, practice your coaching skills? What's it going to be? You're going to launch an annual planning and coaching cycle. That's a big one, but why not? Make a commitment. Tell me more. Write it in the chat for me. Tell me in the question box what you plan to do as a result of today. While you get that populated, I just want to let you know that if you want more, I am opening a Coaching for Excellence class. It starts March 28th. And if you want more information, it's right here on the screen, clairelaughlin.com/coaching for excellence. Or if you go to clairelaughlin.com, there's a link right there on the front page that will take you to the class details. It's live online. It's 6 sessions, tons of bonuses, lots of good stuff happening, really good, outcomes from the class, and a low price per person for the quality that you get. So I get a lot of people that bring their organizations, and yeah, so reach out to me if you want, Claire at clairelaughlin.com, or check it out there. So let's take some questions. I want to hear some questions.
Okay.
What do we have, Mac?
Okay, I've already done a question from Christy,
Okay.
but she has a really good question. And from her comments, she's evidently getting ready to pitch something to her CEO. So,
Okay,
if you're dealing with leadership, Claire,
yes.
what's your pitch about establishing better coaching throughout the organization? What's your pitch?
Okay, so when I'm dealing with leadership, this is what I want to do. I want to practice my curiosity. Now, if you're inside an organization, you know the answers to a lot of these questions already, but when I'm working with a leader, the first thing I do is I want to make sure that this meets their needs. So I go in with curiosity and I say, so tell me about what's happening here. And tell me about where you're stuck, where you're frustrated. That's why I said at the beginning, like I feel like I have a pretty good pulse on what's happening in the workplace, because I'm constantly asking these questions. Within your organization, you might know what the challenges and the struggles are. Start there, okay? Be thoughtful about it and be like, okay, are we having trouble with engagement? Are people feeling burned out? What am I hearing? What are people telling me? And then when you go in and you have a conversation about it, start with that, because people will respond to the pain points much more than a lot of people have a lot on their plate right now. So it's different to say, hey, I just feel like doing this coaching thing and let's get behind this, as opposed to saying, actually, this is going to be a strategy that solves our problem, that helps us get a better result. So that's one way to do it. By the way, if doing that, if you want support, and I know there's a lot of options for you, so by all means, but if you want support with it, or you want to send a group of people to my class, I am happy to talk to the leadership of your organization. I'll have conversations with them anytime, and we'll determine if it's the right thing for you at this time. I can help you with that if you're interested in it. But start with the pain, be really curious, and then position it as an option. And because these are things that can be really helpful. You don't have to go all the way to throwing out the performance appraisal and adopting a quarterly coaching model. You can say, I just want to help people develop their skills at being more curious and asking better questions and having more trust in their teams and sharing their priorities and stuff like that. And all of that is embedded in the course that I just talked about, but those are the components. So use those components. Okay, does that help? I hope that helps.
And what about relationships that may already be broken, or there's a lot of friction already, so there's a little bit of work to do? Where do you like to start with those?
Where I like to start is with asking questions and trying to see the world from their perspective. One of the things that we do a lot is that we tend to think, oh, I already know this person, or I already know how they're going to act and behave. And we get into that place of non-curiosity. We're not curious. And so this is one of the reasons why curiosity is so powerful, because we want to literally be able to say, I need to take a fresh approach. I need to understand the world from that person's viewpoint. That is the #1 way to build trust, is to go in with an open heart and an open mind and try to understand the world from that person's perspective for real. So a lot of people say, oh, I get it. I know the world from their perspective. They're just lazy and they don't want to do any more work. I go like, no, 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 because I'm guessing they don't get up in the morning and say to themselves, I just want to be lazy. Like people come to their behaviors from good reasons. Like they have good reasons and, you know, reasonable motivation for whatever it is that they're doing. So you've got to get to their side of the fence and see the world from their perspective. That's the first thing to do. I hope that helps.
What do you have a perspective on the difference between peer coaching and leadership coaching?
Yes, 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 yes. Okay, so peer coaching, so this is the way I generally handle it. So leadership coaching, you mean, okay, well, I'm not sure what you mean by leadership coaching, whether that's getting if you're a leader, getting a coach, or if that means that
Yes, yes. Yeah,
yeah.
leaders doing the coaching rather than peers doing the coaching. Yes.
Oh, leaders doing the coaching instead of peers. Okay, yes, let's compare those two things. So the only real difference is this. When I go into an organization, I like to train everybody in coaching skills, even people who have no direct reports. And it's because coaching is so powerful that I just love for people to be able to coach each other. So and I just teach them to ask permission. It's not every conversation is a coaching conversation, but when I'm even like having a conversation with my neighbor, for example, we were walking around the block the other day and she was sharing some challenges that she had with me, she was sharing them with me. And I just turned to her and I said, you know, would you like me to ask you a few coaching questions? Would that be okay? Because it's a different way of showing up, right? And so she says, yeah. And I say, okay, so let's talk about this. What is your real goal here? And so I start coaching and I start asking her about her goals and her reality and what options she perceives and what she'd really like to do. And I just have that conversation with her, but I'm just a peer. I have no investment in the outcome or whether she really reaches those goals, and I have no power in the relationship. So I want to be very respectful and transparent and just say, hey, would you like me to ask you some coaching questions? So that is what I recommend because I think it's really a powerful way of having a conversation and helping a person get to their own answers. Now, leader coaching, of course, is I like to also say that coaching is not the only conversation you're going to have, but if a leader wants to do this, they should be conscientious of kind of combining it with some kind of cadence around goal setting. So that's where you get the biggest bang for the buck when it comes to leadership coaching. So that circle I showed you, the circle of circles that has, so we're going to set goals at the team level, and then people are going to come up with their own personal goals, and then we're going to do some coaching around that, and we're going to have another team meeting. That is what I've experienced as the most powerful cadence and combination of a team orientation and a personal coaching type of thing. I really apologize for that buzzing, if you can hear it. I thought that was going to stop, but there's somebody chainsawing in the backyard. Not my backyard, but the one that backs up to me. So I apologize for that.
Well, we're almost out of time, so we'll just do one more question. It was one that I'm kind of itching to hear your answer to. A lot of organizations, Claire, already have a lot of meetings.
Yes.
And today you suggested meetings. So
I know. I know.
Can you address that for us, please?
Yeah, so so here's the thing. I would repurpose some of your existing meetings into these goal setting meetings and things like that. Nobody wants more meetings, but the truth is, and I do a ton of meeting coaching with people, and here's what is very, very often true, almost always true, is that our meetings aren't very effective in a lot of ways. Lots of people have ineffective meetings. I would get rid of the ineffective meetings, repurpose some of the meetings around this goal setting and stuff so that you are building accountability and energy and stuff like that in the organization. So I would not think of it as just adding meetings. I would think of it as repurposing some of those meetings and doing them better. Okay, if you're stuck with your meetings, let me know, I can help you. Meetings are like so critically important, but most people are not getting the most out of those meetings. And so I really want you to think about that. A lot of people have a meeting when it could have been an email and spend a lot of time on email when those things should be meetings. That's just one of the complications. And another complication is that we meet and we do report outs instead of gathering and garnering energy around shared goals. So that's my short answer.
I think that was a great answer. So thank you for being here, Claire. Everybody, we will follow up with you all with our deliverables in an email in a little bit. And you all can, I will shoot you Claire's, you'll have Claire's information. If you need her, you know where to find her. If you need me, you know where to find me. And Miss Claire, I will see you again in a couple weeks.
Shall we, wait, before we go, Max, shall we pick some winners for our
Absolutely, yeah.
giveaway? Okay, let's see. Let's see. Uh-oh, okay. Now I see our winners have been chosen, but they are in my email, which I cannot access right now. I thought I was gonna get them by text, but I want you all to know that you will be hearing from me if you are one of our winners, and I'm so sorry. I wish I had that right now. Actually, I might be able to get it. Hang on, just give me 2 seconds and I'll see if it's there. Okay, I did get it. Okay. Oh my goodness, so many. All right, we've got Christy, Christy Downham at the top of the list. And Christy, how about I'd like to give you my powerful prioritization class. If you are up for it, I would love to share that with you. Laura Womack, yes, I'm sorry. List, and you will also be getting the powerful process to do this. Laura, you're next on the list. Prioritization class. Start with you as well. I've got Will Olmsted. Will, I will share, and I've got Erica Robin. I'm going to hand over my Coaching for Excellence class. That's my big course that starts at the end of March, and that's going to go to Maggie Mao. Okay, so thank you so much, everybody. Really look forward to sharing those with you, and please reach out to me if you need anything. Thanks, Mac. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks, everybody, for coming, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.